guys, this is Charlotte, and you're watching Going In Raw.
Hey, friendo, Steve here.
And Larson.
And welcome back to Going In Raw, the only pro wrestling podcast you need to be listening to right here at youtube.com/Steve and Larson. Available wherever podcasts can be found, and of course, taped live at twitch.tv/Steve and Larson. If you're watching us on YouTube, do us a favor. Give us a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button. Let's help grow Going In Raw. We're also available on the Patreon at patreon.com/Steve and Larson, where this week we'll be dropping a brand new episode of The Numbers Don't Lie, where we take Going In Raw math, the tried and true tested formula, verified and approved by scientists around the world.
Oh, yeah, studied by statisticians the world over.
Mathematicians, scholars, philosophers, and we're going to apply it to the ninth wonder of the world, China, thanks to the friendos, $10 and up on the Patreon, who voted on which member of OGDX we were going to analyze this week. China, so you can get, you can vote on her numbers in areas like in-ring ability, promo ability, legacy ability, right there
Kayfabe.
at Patreon, kayfabe ability on patreon.com/Stephen Larson, $5 and up. And then you can watch it live or on demand on Thursday and after that. So that should be a lot of fun. The numbers don't lie this coming Thursday, China.
Correct.
So that's a lot of fun. And then, we're going to talk about Raw because, you know, we have to.
Because it happened.
Because it happened. There's some stuff to talk about.
Yeah.
But before that, Larson, we've got a little bit of news going on, don't we?
We got a follow-up from a story we talked about yesterday, as reported by Wrestling Inc. and Fightful yesterday. WWE confirmed today they had come to terms on the release of Ric Flair, and then Flair took to Twitter to comment on his release. This is what he had to say. Quote, I'm officially able to respond to all the press related to my requested release from WWE, which they have given to me. I want to make it really clear with everyone that I'm not upset with WWE at all. They solely are responsible for putting me in this position of my life that I'm in right now, where I'm seen in the brightest light ever. We have a different vision for my future. I wish them nothing but continued success. Thank you for everything. Nothing but respect.
Ooh. That's cool that he, it's no hard feelings there. Maybe just a difference of philosophies and how he should be presented to people and stuff. Maybe doesn't want to be involved in an angle where he's with Lacey Evans as her lover. But that's cool. Be curious. Do they have no compete clauses in these kind of contracts and these like Legends deals or
that
whatever
I don't know.
he's
that I don't
assigned to? Could he show up at AEW tomorrow night? Is that a possibility?
I have no idea. I don't know.
No
Maybe
clue.
it depends on. I don't know. Yeah, I honestly don't know.
Mm-hmm. Moving on. This was an interesting little bit here from Tyler Breeze. I thought it'd be fun to talk about this. So Tyler Breeze, where is this coming from? So I've got this up on Fightful.
Shooting Straight with Drama King Matt.
Oh, okay. Oh, there it is. Okay, yeah. Who, by the way, we've got to mention this yesterday. Drama King Matt officially made his Impact Wrestling debut in the Homecoming tournament with Deonna Purrazzo,
and won the tournament.
He's a bad guy too. He's a bad guy.
Yeah.
So that's pretty fun. Anyways, so he said something here, and it sort of relates to a lot of the discussion right now, obviously, in the world of pro wrestling, centers around the idea of how wrestlers are used and utilized by the companies they work for. Obviously, in WWE, there was a period of time when they were hoarding talent to keep them seemingly away from competition from AEW when they were getting started. Which resulted in a lot of talent simply not being used because WWE doesn't like the approach of, for example, factions. Like AEW, obviously, one of their big things is they have a lot of factions, and it makes sure everybody seemingly gets TV time. You know, a guy like Shawn Spears, for example.
Yeah.
When he got called up to main roster in WWE, you know, he was being used on a regular basis in NXT. When he got called to main roster, not so much. He was just sort of a guy who was there, didn't do a whole lot. And now he's with the Pinnacle. I would make the case that he is used really well in AEW. Mm-hmm. Obviously, he's not a guy who's going to be a featured top of the card player, but nonetheless, he has his character, he has his role, he does it really well. He's on Dynamite like pretty much every time the Pinnacle's on Dynamite, he's there. You know, he's had featured matches. I think he's in a pretty good spot, you know?
Yeah, definitely.
So there is the question of what happens to wrestlers when they're not being used. Sometimes they're vocal about their displeasure about not being used. Well, Tyler Breeze had something to say about that. These transcripts come to you from our good friends over at Fightful. He says, I remember being so frustrated. I hate this. I hate when people are like, I was never given an opportunity. I was never given a chance. I was held down. That's a whole separate conversation, but that's such an excuse of you don't know what you signed up for. We signed a piece of paper for a certain amount of money to sit on the bench and get used if we get used. If they choose not to use you, it doesn't mean I can go on social media and bitch and complain and go, I'm getting held down. Nope. If you're not okay with that, then quit your job. That's what this is. It's a casting call. Sometimes they need you, sometimes they don't. It's always a roller coaster. You're going to get used, but you can't stay at the top forever. You're going to get cycled out. People are so entitled that they like, I should have got this and you deserve this. No, none of us deserve anything, and we're very lucky to be part of it, and we're lucky to get an opportunity. If that opportunity comes, you better be ready and nail it, and you might get more opportunities. That's a weird culture going on. So I don't know. What are your thoughts about this? And we'll talk about it a little bit.
I'm sure that point of view is probably informed by his own experience, not just in NXT, but FCW, because he was in WWE developmental for a very long time.
True.
A number of years before getting called to the main roster. Maybe in doing so, I think later on in the same bit, he's talking about a period where he was struggling in FCW and didn't quite get it. He wasn't grasping how they wanted him to do things. And you know, if memory serves, he went through several different characters before discovering Tyler Breeze or creating Tyler Breeze. So I'm sure his experience, obviously, you know, for the most part, a lot of times experience informs how we view the world. And I'm guessing, I don't know the guy, haven't talked to him about it. All I've read is this quote is maybe his time at WWE developmental informed this philosophy, this approach that we're here. If we're called upon to do our jobs, then we step up and do to the best of our ability. And after that, hopefully we get more, we press people, we get more opportunities. But by no means is it a certainty that we're going to get used to the utmost of our abilities. And I understand that point of view. That's probably a sound point of view to have if you want to maintain your sanity working the WWE machine. You know, but a lot of wrestlers are also, I'm sure Tyler Breeze as well, really creative people. And creative people can kind of go crazy if they can't find an outlet for their creativity. You know, it can get frustrating, and I get that too. And when you're in a position or in a company where you feel like you're not being utilized to your fullest, you got to let off that steam somehow. You know, is going on social media and complaining the best or most constructive means of venting that frustration? Up for debate. But you know, I get both perspectives here.
Yeah, me too. It is a different philosophy than I think, you know, some people have. It's easy to be a fan and look at what WWE does. I mean, even in the case of him and Fandango as Breezango, you know, you and I were both watching with a lot of people. Their peak arguably was in SmackDown when they were doing the Fashion File stuff. It was,
there's a lot of fun stuff.
Great. Yeah. They had that one match, and you remember this with the Usos, and it was like, man, if they really could have capitalized on that, that would have been really great because people would have popped really hard in the moment. And then creatively speaking, I'm not sure how far an act like that, what their creative ceiling could have really been, how far they could have gone with it realistically. But in the moment, it would have been great. And WWE loves their moments. So it's like, I don't know why they didn't pull the trigger on that. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that guy had been in WWE for a long time. So if I'm gonna take anybody's words and you know, say, okay, well, I know this guy knows what he's talking about, it's going to be Tyler Breeze. But it is a different philosophy than I think, you know, somebody who's been there, you know, just as long as him. And I'm not talking about anybody specifically, but like there have been people who have complained online about not being used or sort of subtweeted WWE, I guess. Yeah. In terms of them not being used, that have been there the same amount of time as Tyler Breeze and have gone through their own experiences and do find it valid to vent online. And yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's you know, there's people who have a certain way of working, and there's a certain people who have a different way of working.
Mm-hmm.
But it's certainly an interesting perspective from the fact that this is a guy who just got released. This is a guy who did spend a lot of time in developmental finding his character, and eventually he did, and he found success with it. He wrestled Juice and Thunder Liger in NXT, which is a really big deal. He had success with Breezango. So the guy definitely has his credentials. But I don't know. It's always interesting to hear that side of it. That's sort of like, hey, you know what you signed up for. Because I kind of like, just personally speaking, I philosophically kind of side with that as well. And that's just judging from my own experiences. Like, for example, when we used to work at Machinima, it's like we got laid off, and I understood. I'm like, well, there had been layoffs before us. It was obvious that company didn't know how to properly monetize stuff, and they didn't understand the value of talent and what they could have done with it because they let so much talent go. Mm-hmm. So it's like when we got laid off, it was like, yeah, okay, I could sit here and talk crap about that company, but A, that would have hurt the severance. But B, it's like bitter's not a great look.
No, it's not.
But the bottom line is, when you sign a contract, you need to, whenever you sign a contract, look at what the worst case scenario would be in that situation, and you have to be okay with that worst case scenario. It's like, if I'm going to sign this contract with WWE, that's, if it's true that Adam Cole's contract is up right now, or he's got offers in front of him and he's deciding whether or not, okay, am I going to do this or not? Mm-hmm. He's got to look at the worst case scenario, and we're about to talk about him, and his name is Karrion Kross. Because if Adam Cole signs a document that says, yeah, I'm going to work for you guys for another 3 years or 5 years.
Yeah.
And you can literally do nothing with me and piss away arguably my prime.
Yeah.
That's a terrible bad case scenario.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You want to take that off the board. And if that's signing a 1-year deal, if that or if that's available, if that's signing a 1-year deal or signing a deal that says, hey, you're going to put me on X number of shows, you're going to, some sort of weird Hogan-esque creative control. Who knows if that even exists anymore?
Well, if it does, it's probably it's for the likes of like Brock Lesnar,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I don't know, everybody has to make their decisions with, hey, where do I think, because if Adam Cole has that contract in front of him, he knows he's going to be used well in AEW. He knows that because they're all his best friends over there and his fiance. Did they ever get married? His fiance, right?
Oh, I guess
girlfriend?
Fiance, yeah.
I don't know what it is.
I don't believe they ever got married. No.
His lover is over there. His best friends are over there.
Yeah.
Or a couple of them, anyways. Like, he knows he's going to be fine over there. In WWE, he doesn't know that. Now, he could gamble on himself. He could say, hey, they just lost Daniel Bryan. I kind of fit a lot of Daniel Bryan's bill. Like, I could do a lot of that stuff. Maybe they could slot me in that role. Maybe they'll put me in the Kross role. Maybe I'll be the next Reggie, the next 24/7 guy.
Yeah.
A lot of unknowns there. Yeah.
Yeah. And if you're going to go to WWE, you have to be aware of those unknowns. And as you mentioned, be comfortable with the worst case scenario potentially happening to you.
Mm-hmm.
Because
if you're going to
be frustrated.
If you're like a new guy just going there, again, you have to look at your options. Like, okay, well, I don't know what they're going to do. They might have me over on Elevation for a year. They might put me out there and have me get squashed against Lance Archer for my debut.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they might do that with me over in AEW, the land of the free. Or I could take my chance at NXT and maybe I'll win the breakout tournament. If you're a new guy, you have no idea what's going to happen.
Yeah.
A guy like Adam Cole, what's going to happen in one place. Not sure what's going to happen in the other place.
Yes. Totally. Let's talk about Raw. It wasn't a bad show.
We don't have any more. We don't have any other news to talk about. There's nothing else we can talk about.
You really want to talk about Raw?
Let's cut my gummy supplements. Can we talk about anything else?
14 minutes to show. That should be enough, right?
Talk about that main event. Holy crap!
I went and got my blood drawn this morning. That was not fun.
Oh no. Oh well, yeah. I still have to do that. You lapped me on that one, man.
Yeah, you got your physical done a while ago. You haven't gotten your blood
physical.
done
I just didn't go back to get my blood drawn.
Oh yeah, that's kind of like the only reason I went and got the physical because it's been a while since I've had blood work done. And usually needles don't like bug. Like I'll get blood drawn and like I'll stare at the needle going in. Doesn't bother me. Doesn't hurt. Today for some reason I was like, I don't want to watch it. And then they put the needle in and it kind of felt uncomfortable. It's kind of
last time I got it, it actually hurt. I was like, God damn.
Yeah, this kind of hurt. Still does hurt.
We're a couple of weenies, though. All right, man, let's talk about that main event. Talk about hurting. Talk about brutal. Talk about bloodletting. Holy crap. You see Charlotte's back after she went to that table? That was great.
Yeah.
It was a really fun match that punctuated an overly long feeling Raw I feel like just not a lot happened. There was some weird decision making going on. Talk about this. Let's talk about, because you brought this up in the pre-show, talk about Nikki Cross. She got the win over Charlotte last night, no holds barred, championship contender match. What are they doing? What is this? What is the story they're trying to tell?
I don't know.
The story?
I honestly don't know, because the match last night, the way it was structured, this felt like 2/3 of the match where Nikki finally bests Charlotte and becomes superhero. You know, because the whole opening 90% of that is Nikki getting wrecked by Charlotte. Charlotte dominated that match for 85-90% of it. It wasn't towards the end. Nikki got out of the way, hit a finish to get the win. And if you add like essentially a third act to that match where Nikki kicks out, gets a little more offense in, you build up to that finish more than just her looking intense for a couple seconds. That could have been a huge moment where, okay, she's no longer almost a superhero. She's now, you know, at least in terms of this wrestling universe you've created, a superhero. She's taken down the supervillain to become a superhero within the Raw Women's division. And the way they've structured, and maybe it's a matter of expectations. Like when Nikki changes her presentation, says, you know, I won a couple beat the clock challenge matches. I beat Charlotte by count out. I'm feeling like I could do anything. I feel almost like a superhero. Well, my mind is like, okay, the story is her going from almost superhero to essentially superhero, again, within the world that they've created. And with essentially what I was expecting was a superhero origin story. Mm-hmm. And it was right there. And they can make tons of money out of it. I feel like that match they had last night between Nikki and Charlotte, you save that for, so instead of doing the opportunistic cash in, Nikki cashes in by saying, Charlotte, you and me, but Royal Rumble, something like that, you know? And you have Nikki go through some feuds all the while. Charlotte goes out of her way to beat her up whenever she can, you know? Maybe you have a couple matches between the two of them in advance of the cash-in match, and it's like what happened last week, where Charlotte beats her pretty definitively. And every time Nikki tries to get that loss back, either Charlotte takes shortcuts, gets herself DQ'd when she's on the verge of losing, stuff like this, where Charlotte is always seemingly one step ahead of Nikki, but then Nikki finally puts it all together in this huge match, gets the win, and it could be a really huge moment. In my mind, that's what I thought the story was going to be. I don't know what the story is. She's already won the championship. Now she has to learn how to be a champion. I was expecting Nikki to finally get this win over Charlotte at SummerSlam at a huge moment, at a pay-per-view, at what is essentially going to be Summer WrestleMania, happens the main event of Raw, and then you have Rhea Ripley, who's been putting together a string of really good matches. Her and Nia had a really good match last night.
Yeah,
she's really connecting with the crowd.
On fire lately, yeah.
The promo stuff aside, I feel like in ring, she's finally figuring out who Rhea Ripley is on the main roster. Yeah, her first few matches after getting called up were a little clunky. Yeah, but now I feel like she's in a really good groove in terms of her in-ring work. She's really over with the crowd. I mean, after seeing what happened in the result of the main event and Rhea's match, I'm like, I mean, I'm not going to put a whole lot of, I don't think it's a high percentage, but kind of feel like there's a chance that Rhea could walk out of SummerSlam with that belt again.
All right, let's take a quick break here to get a word in from the sponsor of today's show, Liquid Death. So, Larson.
Yeah?
We're right in the middle of the dog days of summer, and it is hot. But when I'm on the verge of heat overload, I reach for a can of Liquid Death and put my thirst down like a dog.
Yeah, this may look like a beer, but it's not. Inside this awesome-looking tall boy can is 16.9 ounces of mountain water that will brutally murder your thirst, hence the name on the can right there. And while this can does look cool, what makes it even better is that aluminum cans are infinitely recyclable, unlike plastic bottles, which mostly end up in a landfill. See here, Steve, plastic bottles are a money loser for recycling centers, but aluminum cans actually make them money.
Yeah, also Liquid Death donates 10% of their profits from every can sold to help bring death upon plastic pollution. So if you want to put your thirst down like a dog during these dog days of summer, go to liquiddeath.com/GIR to get a free set of cozies with your first order of any case of water.
Or grab some at your neighborhood Whole Foods or 7-Eleven. Let's get a word from another sponsor of today's show, Raycon. Hey, Steve, guess what?
Yes. What? Yes.
You know, I thought about it long and hard, and I think I'm going to head back to the gym.
Oh, that's cool, man. That's great to hear.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I'm saying goodbye to lifting those dirty old cinder blocks I found in a back alley somewhere out in my garage, and I'm saying hello to pumping some real iron at the gym. And I made myself a brand new playlist to get myself fired up for it. And of course, I'll be rocking my Raycon wireless earbuds to help fuel my workout.
That's great to hear, friendo. Whether you're like Larson here and need some upbeat music to pump you up for a trip to the gym, or maybe some chill tunes for a mellow vibe after a stressful day, or maybe you just want to keep up to date on the latest podcasts like this one here, Going in Raw. Regardless of what you're listening to, Raycons are the best way to listen.
Raycons come with a bunch of gel tips in different sizes, meaning you'll get maximum comfort and a great in-ear fit that won't stick out of your ears like some other brands. Plus, Raycons have a 32-hour battery life, meaning you can listen to what you want, when you want, and listen to it for a really, really long time.
And they start at half the price of other premium audio brands, but sound just as good. Raycons come with a 45-day happiness guarantee, so really, you can't lose. Create your own soundtrack with Raycon. Right now, Going in Raw listeners can get 15% off their Raycon order at buyraycon.com/raw.
That's buyraycon.com/raw to save 15% on Raycons. Buyraycon.com/raw. And before we get back to the show, let's get a word in from the sponsor of today's show, BetterHelp. Several years ago, while dealing with severe anxiety, I learned the importance of talking to a therapist, but also discovered that it can be extremely difficult to find the right person to talk to. Today, BetterHelp is providing a safe and private online environment where your needs will be assessed and you'll be matched with your own licensed personal therapist.
BetterHelp isn't a crisis line, nor is it self-help. It's professional counseling done securely online, all without having to ever sit in another uncomfortable waiting room.
BetterHelp is dedicated to facilitating great therapeutic matches. Send your counselor messages at any time or schedule regular weekly phone or video sessions, and they've made it free and easy to change therapists if needed.
And you don't have to limit yourself to counselors in your area. BetterHelp's services are available worldwide, so you can find the expertise you need regardless of location.
We want you to start living a happier life today. As a Going in Raw listener, you'll get 10% off your first month by visiting our sponsor at betterhelp.com/raw. Join over 1 million people who have taken charge of their mental health.
Again, that's BetterHelp, HELP.com/raw. Do you think that the response to Rhea was as unexpected as it was to me? Because when she first walked out, when they first had fans, just given how Rhea had been presented on main roster, I did not expect that response. That crowd immediately started chanting, Rhea, Rhea. They love her. Everybody loves somebody who just looks really cool and they're a badass. You know, people like that, regardless if you're given cheesy dialogue. I mean, sometimes it can kind of kill you, but with Rhea, I think she does have a connection there. And I don't know, man. I think that, I agree with you in that there was the ingredients there for a really terrific story. You know, being literally in your name is almost a superhero. So your story needs to be becoming a superhero. But maybe they just see her gimmick as perpetually almost a superhero. And again, with WWE, you just have to dumb it down. Like, okay, well, they got SummerSlam coming up. I guess I'm doing Bruce Pritchard. I don't know what voice I'm doing. Well, you got
Bruce
SummerSlam coming.
Yeah, Bruce probably works.
You got SummerSlam coming up. People need to think that Nikki can beat Charlotte. So Nikki beat Charlotte.
I know. And like, there's little things like when Nikki comes from behind Charlotte during her promo and hits her with the chair. I'm like, that's not really something a superhero would do.
Oh, but you know what? I can't be hypocritical on that one because I dig that. Because I like when people, if you're a babyface, I like you to do badass stuff. And the fact that Nikki, I mean, here's the thing that I do like about it is that number one, I don't like that they had that match last night in the first place because that match should have been a pay-per-view match. Like that should have been the match SummerSlam. No holds barred match at SummerSlam. You add Rhea to it. That's a killer match right there. But I get it. They want Nikki. They want us to understand that, hey, Nikki can hold her own. She's not a pushover, and that cash-in wasn't a fluke. And I understand that you don't want your babyface champion to be a pushover. Like sometimes they are. Sometimes they totally are.
And a pushover thing to do last week would have been to take your loss at the hands of Charlotte, lick your wounds, and just sulk back to the locker room. And that's not what it was. Nikki said, "No, I still think I can beat you. Let's throw down again this week," and that happened. And I don't have a problem with Nikki running out and trying to get after Charlotte. I don't mind that.
Yeah.
Coming up from behind though, that feels more like a heel thing to do than a babyface thing to do. If she wants to come out there after Charlotte's been talking trash for a while and wants to throw down, cool, no problem there.
Dude, who is the biggest babyface in WWE history?
Stone Cold. I know.
No, Hogan. I was thinking.
Oh, Hogan. Yeah, and I'm pretty convinced he was a heel the whole time.
Right?
He may not have known it, but
he would totally be doing that stuff, sneaking up behind people. So yeah, I don't know. It is weird. I mean, look, this is part of the thing about WWE that I actually appreciate is the fact that I have no idea what's going to happen at SummerSlam. At first, I knew. I was like, oh, Nikki's going to win. I kind of don't know. It's so unpredictable now. But I feel like the story they're going to tell in the ring is probably going to be pretty good, and that match is going to be pretty sick at SummerSlam.
It'll be a good match, but the story I thought they were going to tell at SummerSlam, they ended up telling last night. So
yeah, I know. Yeah, we got it on Raw. Hey, we should be celebrating Raw then because we got that story last night. It doesn't always have to play out the way we wanted to play. But no, I mean, part of me, the match was really good. I love that Nikki Cross got that killer. And can we talk for a moment here about how awesome Charlotte is? Mm-hmm. Between her promo with the crowd, her knowing how to play to the crowd, her knowing how to shut the crowd down. Nobody handles the crowd better these days than Charlotte.
Yeah, she's done a great job of it.
And she gives everything to that match, and the crowd knows it. Mm-hmm. She gives everything she has. She gives everything she has. I don't know how one person can sit there and say, oh, I don't like Charlotte. Dude, watch the damn match. She is killing it.
Yeah.
Killing it these days with her character work, with every little that Rob posted, like just a gif of her when she kicked out after the table spot.
Mm-hmm.
And even when she knows it's hard for the camera to catch her, she's still doing everything on her face that her character should be doing. Mm-hmm. It's great. She's putting in she's a masterclass right now. Charlotte.
Yeah, she's put in some great work to, if the aim of this story in the end is to establish Nikki as champion, I mean, Charlotte's doing her part.
She is doing
1,000%
her part. Yeah. It does. No, you know what I like about it? Look, dude, you're 100% right in terms of the story ain't there. The story is a mess.
It's not there.
But it seems like there's not telling a story beyond, hey, let's get Nikki Cross over and establish her as on par with Charlotte and Rhea, which I'm kind of here for. I'm there for that because it's like, if you're not going to make all this money with your superhero story, at the very least, let me know that you think Nikki Cross, Nikki A.S.H, A.S.H, whatever her name is, let me know that you consider her on par with them, and then you can bungle whatever story you want to bungle. But at least let me know that you think that she can win.
There is a amount of solace there to be had, I suppose. It's just it's maddening, and maybe I should be cynical and jaded at this point when it comes to WWE and not expect them to craft stories that can actually lead to them garnering more viewers and making more money and getting their audience more captivated in their product. But it's hard not to when you see a story right there that can be huge for them, and then to not even try it. It's
so
disheartening.
Funny, dude.
And I should enjoy the small victories that are had as a fan of particular talents. But I don't know. I just find it hard to divest myself enough to think, wow, this as great as this is for Nikki, that she's going to be elevated to the same tier as Charlotte, Rhea, so on and so forth. It could have been so much more.
We appreciate good storytelling.
Yes.
We appreciate good storytelling, and there's nothing wrong with that. And on the other hand, there's nothing wrong with just appreciating the simplistic nature of just two people fighting and then somebody, winning. And so I'm not. Me personally, I'm with you. I like the good storytelling. I like the moments that build and build and build, and there's a crescendo, and then you get that holy crap moment. And it feels like lately, especially over the past. Well, I say lately, I say over the past couple of years, Vince is really just reverting to like this anti-storytelling thing, where it's like the most he can muster really is, let's say, Kofi Mania, where it's like Vince just shows up and throws a bunch of roadblocks. Well, you can't do that, then do this. And that's not really storytelling. It's just like, it's more like labors, it's like the labors of Jericho.
I know.
But at least with the labors of Jericho, there's some creativity in where, it's like, let's look at your past. Let's look at Juventud Guerrera. Let's go with the sickest person in wrestling right now, Nick Gage. There is some element of storytelling, even with something as simplistic as roadblocks.
Yeah.
Whereas in WWE, it's just like the most they can muster for stories is just like roadblocks. It's like,
for the sake of roadblocks.
Now you got to do this.
Exactly.
Now you got to do this.
And while
it's just.
Sorry, go ahead. Finish.
It's just a different philosophy of booking that I just don't think it makes for compelling week to week television.
It doesn't. No.
But I understand why people out there would, and I know there are people out there who are going to be cool with this. But yeah, I don't know. In order to maintain my sanity, you have to appreciate the small victories, and I appreciate this for Nikki Cross because she deserves to be seen as on par with Charlotte and Rhea Ripley. And it will make, I think, for a compelling SummerSlam match, even though I think it could have been more compelling if she built to this point. If she's on the precipice of obviously beating Charlotte in the lead up to this, and then Rhea makes her case and robs it from her. And it's like, when that moment happens in front of however many thousands of people at SummerSlam, it's going to be the biggest thing,
Exactly. Yeah. Building up to that win where, first she loses to Charlotte, then she's on the precipice of victory against Charlotte. It's taken away from her, because you still have about 2.5 weeks to build. So that when Nikki finally gets that huge win, the crowd pops huge. It's a huge moment, and it feels like something, like really feels like something, as opposed to, all right, this is just another storyline to WWE, because the potential was there for it to really feel like something, for it to really be something. And maybe it still can be. I don't know where they're taking this. I have no idea where they're taking this. None. So we'll see. Anyways, want to get into Raw?
Let's talk about let's just get into Raw. We'll talk about this when we actually get there. But I'm dying to talk about Kross because it's the funniest sub story.
All right, let's just talk about it. So he had another match, a rematch against Keith Lee. I will say this about
damned if you do, damned if you don't, right?
I know. Well, here's the thing. For in consecutive weeks, Karrion Kross has probably had 2 of his 3, maybe 2 of his 4 best WWE matches. The last 2 weeks, I think he and Keith Lee have had really good matches.
Yeah, sure.
Kross had a good match against Finn Balor in NXT. The one against Legado del Fantasma was tons of fun too.
Yeah.
He got 0 reaction. Like they're piping in cheers and chants and stuff this whole episode. You can't get at least some buzz, some ambient noise going on for Karrion Kross's entrance.
It's intentional. It's intentional, dude. They gave it to everybody else. And that's another thing we can talk about. That Chicago crowd, I think they were doing their part because I did hear "We Want Wyatt" chants during Goldberg. We heard CM Punk chants.
Several CM Punk chants, yes.
But as soon as you hear it, what did Kyle say? Kevin Dunn mutes the crowd's feelings.
Yeah, muted the crowd's feelings.
You can hear they go, and then like you hear all of a sudden like the God voice of Michael Cole just saying, Drew McIntyre saying, 16-time world champion.
Yeah.
They can't even get that right, but evidently, according to somebody, they were running
like
a video package
they were
or
testing
something.
or something like that. Anyways,
they were testing. Yeah.
So Kross didn't get much of a reaction. He didn't really get any reaction.
No reaction. The entrance, I told you this on I text you. It's like an anti-entrance.
Well,
it just happens. It just happens.
Especially is when you contrast it with what he had in NXT.
I know.
If you had never seen that entrance in NXT, if that had never been created, if he just went straight to the main roster, had this entrance, it'd be like, okay, this entrance isn't really impressive. It's really not much of anything, but it's an entrance. It's generic, but it's something. But you compare it to what he had in NXT, and you're literally sucking out like some of the most captivating aspects about Karrion Kross.
Yeah.
by having such a mundane entrance for him. Like, there's no mystique now. There's no mystique.
They've got the giant Tron behind him. And what do? They have like basically a beige, like, his Tron is like beige smoke. And like you see his name up top and like the shadow of like a bird.
And there's like meteors flying in.
There's
like
meteors.
fireballs.
So I don't even know.
Well, it's Doomsday stuff.
Yeah. But by and large, the color palette is just beige as he's standing there. And he stands there, and isn't he like crossing his arms?
Yeah.
He's carrying Kross.
Well, he's carrying Kross arms.
And he's silhouetted, and there's like some awkward spotlights on him. One is like off center. So it's just, and you have like, there's like on the Tron behind him too, there's like it looks like somebody cut out from a cardboard box. There's like the little trim, and it's just the entrance. It's like where you go in and out. So there's going to be that little, you could see the outline of the entrance.
Yeah.
But it looks like a cutout of a cardboard box. It looks cheap. They intentionally are screwing this guy's entrance. He looks cheap. There's no other way to put it. The man looks cheap. And then he comes out there. I was laughing so hard when he got killed with a spirit bomb by Keith Lee. This is twice now. They advertise NXT on their show. Go watch this show with the cheapest champion we can muster up. The weakest guy we can muster up.
I will say this. Again, good match. And they mentioned at least their history, Lee and Kross's history in NXT. They mentioned they had crossed paths. I don't remember if they said it was for the NXT title or not.
Yeah.
Now, if they really want to kick this up a notch, they should have another match next week where Lee challenges Kross for the NXT title, have him defended on.
Wouldn't
Raw.
that be awesome? That'd be great. That'd be awesome. And great little cross promotional stuff.
Yeah.
And then maybe even, bring out Samoa Joe, the guy who's going to challenge him at TakeOver, and then advertise that.
Mm-hmm.
It's so weird. It's like, man, why? You could have this awesome thing where it's like, holy crap, I've got 3 brands to play with on cable TV with like stellar talent. It ain't like AEW. They got one show. They're about to have a second one, but they got like one show. They got one roster. It's like you have 3 different brands that people would love just to be seen interweaving, in cool ways.
Yeah. The most frustrating aspect, though, is and maybe a lot of it is informed by the thing we heard about how Kross is supposed to lose to Hardy the second week he was on Raw. Had Hardy not gotten COVID, And so you have Kross versus Keith Lee last week, and Kross wins, and you're thinking, okay, apparently they're moving on from that story. They got something else.
Yeah.
And then you see that Kross loses this week, and you're like, okay, maybe they're backtracking, going back to that story. But if that's the case, why'd they have him win last week?
Why can't you just sit there and enjoy it? Why can't you just enjoy what you're being given? Fans think too much about what's going on. They need to enjoy with it, but you can't because it doesn't make any sense. It's hard to enjoy stuff that doesn't make any sense.
If it made
and
sense,
not like in a David Lynch kind of way.
Yeah, not in the way that would expand your mind potentially, make you think about your place in the universe. It's not that.
Right.
It's like logically trying to make sense of the pieces that you're giving us. So.
Right. What the hell?
Yeah, it's confusing, beguiling, all that. But I guess from an in-ring perspective, it's a small sample size, but it seems plainly obvious that Karrion Kross was probably always better suited to be a main roster wrestler than an NXT wrestler.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's the craziest thing. It's the craziest thing. It's so weird.
It is.
Like
let's just dive into it.
You have you have this other brand that USA is paying. I think they got I was listening to Post Wrestling, their episode with Brandon Thurston. And he had mentioned that NXT had signed an extension on USA.
Oh,
so that's continuing on, even though like they did not mention NXT at all during the conference call, the quarterly earnings call, which is kind of interesting.
That is kind of interesting. Let's dive into it.
Yeah.
Show opened up with Bob Lashley and MVP coming down to the ring. MVP says, "I know everybody's excited to see Goldberg before he comes out." Lashley wants to address a few things. A couple weeks ago, Goldberg came out uninvited. Challenge Lashley for a title shot, and again, Lashley's not going to dignify that challenge with a response. MVP says, though, without question, Goldberg is an icon, still capable of annihilating any man on any given night, but therein lies the problem. He didn't challenge any man. He challenged the Almighty. Calls Goldberg a gladiator and said he's used to crushing any gladiator who stands before him, but Lashley is no gladiator. He's a kaiju.
Yeah,
an unstoppable
kaiju.
monster. So MVP is out there to try to stop a tragedy from happening at SummerSlam. Crowd starts chanting for Goldberg. MVP tells Goldberg, if Lashley does accept your challenge, it won't end well for you. It could be your last match of your career. And then MVP asks Goldberg if he wants to be remembered as a champion or a casualty. This brings Goldberg out. He tells Lashley that if anybody in this ring should be worried about losing something, it should be Lashley, worried about losing that title. He calls MVP scared. He says Lashley looks scared. He says he knows what Lashley is thinking. I'm a high-level athlete, a gladiator, but do you think you're really up for the challenge? When he first saw Goldberg walk down to the ring, did you think that Goldberg was going to be your next victim? Well, guess what? He says, Lashley, this isn't your Coliseum. This is Chicago, and they could smell fear a mile away. And Lashley, you either crapped your pants or are scared out of your mind. So, Goldberg says, doesn't matter if I'm 35, 75, 105. Goldberg will always be Goldberg. Goldberg lives by the spear, and Lashley will die by the spear. That's why he is Goldberg, because he's Goldberg at SummerSlam. Lashley is next. MVP points out to Lashley that Goldberg's son is sitting ringside. So Lashley goes over and confronts him.
Who was unnaturally aged like 13 years since we last saw him 4 years ago.
Yeah.
That was really weird. So like last time we saw Goldberg's kid, he was, I think, shirtless with Goldberg in the middle of the ring. Weren't we there for something like that?
Well, the Raw after Mania, after his match against Brock, he came after the show went off the air and dropped a promo. Yeah,
weren't we there? We were there for that, right?
We were there
2017.
For that, yeah.
Okay, that was 4 years ago, and he looks like a completely different person. It was crazy. Like I'm assuming he went from like 11 to 15,
something like that.
I mean, yeah, a lot of changes happened there, Larson.
Yeah. So Lashley goes over to Goldberg's son, confronts him, and MVP goes like, "No, let's back off." And then MVP tells his son that at SummerSlam, Lashley is going to end your dad's career. Goldberg comes back out and very gently spears MVP to the floor.
It was a very nice spear.
It was very gentle. And then Goldberg and his son walk up the ramp.
I don't know, man. I didn't like any of this.
No, none of it was good.
Lashley did not look scared at all, by the way.
No.
Lashley looked
Why
like
would
he wanted to fucking tear Goldberg apart, and I wish he would have.
Yeah.
I want Lashley just to spear the crap out of Goldberg.
Heck yeah.
Come SummerSlam.
That's all we want, man.
There's no chance that Goldberg's going to win this, right?
No.
Don't be so confident, because every time we've thought that Goldberg wins.
You know why? Because this is his second contracted match of the year. Those are his two matches. He's up.
SummerSlam, what if Vince offers him, hey, can we get you for 5 more dates this year? 3 of them are TV appearances, 2 of them are matches.
No.
It's possible, dude. It's possible.
No, this is all about Lashley, building up Lashley. Come on.
I hope so, too.
This is all about building up Lashley. If Goldberg wins,
not confident.
I'm quitting. I'm going to quit Raw reviews.
Oh, okay. Damn it. I guess I will, too.
No. If we both quit, then we don't have Raw reviews. This is a revenue stream. You have to do them by yourself.
We'll get what a crappy deal for me. Oh, man. Anyways. Dude, I've been telling you, man. I tweeted this out last night because I saw Sean, Ross Sapp, and Denise doing their Raw review.
Oh,
and I was like, suckers. I couldn't. Gosh. I was like thinking to myself, I am so happy. Why didn't we make that decision like 6 months earlier, man? Oh, God.
We thought we were just doing what we thought was best for business.
Because I was looking back at like some of the PC era stuff, like the empty arena stuff, and just how bad it was. And I was like, why didn't we just tap out at the time? Oh, boy. Anyways, after that, we had Drew McIntyre versus Veer and Shanky. And at one point during Drew's entrance, so they were messing with it. We talked about this already. They were messing with the audio all night. Now, this evidently, according to some report today, was they had accidentally run some sort of video package or something.
According to Fightful Select, yes.
Okay, where you could hear Michael Cole yelling 16 times. It was like the disembodied voice of Michael Cole, 16-time champion, and it was like just Drew McIntyre coming out. Anyways, we got what I thought was our first CM Punk chant of the night. Earlier, we had a "We Want Wyatt" chat during the Goldberg stuff, but then you can hear like the volume on the crowd be turned down. I mean, this was, Drew was basically dominating this match. At one point, he kipped up and crotch chopped Shanky, which I thought was pretty cool. As he's loading up for a Claymore on Veer, Shanky's down there holding his leg. Jinder gets in, attacks Drew with a chair, so the match is DQ'd. Then they all 3 of them have chairs, and they're facing off against Drew in the ring. he goes back and he grabs his sword. He sort of wards off Jinder because Jinder goes at him with the chair, and Drew swings his sword at him.
Mm-hmm.
So Jinder and Veer leave. Shanky's left there, and he's sort of just scared, frozen.
He looks like he could have easily, based on his reaction, peed his pants because he was so
He
scared.
might have been peeing or pooping his pants. You know, maybe that's what Goldberg smelled earlier on, perhaps. I don't know. Maybe he did that in advance. I don't know. Anyways, Shanky ends up leaving as Drew swings the sword at him, basically, or acts like he's going to swing the sword rather, and doesn't. Yeah. So he's having a lot of fun with that. Backstage, Jinder and his crew are leaving. Kevin interviews him really quick, and Jinder says, Drew threatened my life with that sword. So his lawyer is probably going to sue for unsafe work environment.
Yeah.
And that's going to lead to their SummerSlam match, I guess. I don't know what's going to happen here.
Yeah, there would be some sort of legal stipulation involved.
Right, exactly.
Like
Ownership of the sword or some crap like
custody
that.
of the sword or something like that.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too, yeah.
And afterwards, Drew had an interview. He said, to be completely fair, he didn't finish the job he started. He said, I threatened them, but I think Chicago wants me to finish the job. Do you want that, Chicago? In the crowd,
Wow.
You hear kind of a cheer.
They're like, yes, we want you to kill somebody? What?
Yeah, it's pretty wild, huh?
It'd be kind of crazy if you saw dismemberment, right, Chicago?
That'd be completely unexpected for a TV 14 product.
Kids in the crowd, man. Get out of here with that.
I know. Drew says, I love that Jinder gets away every week, so he has nightmares about Drew every night because Jinder knows what's coming. And then he says, hey, you'll get this sword, either end up in the hospital or the graveyard. It's not a threat. It's a promise.
Drew is very quickly becoming just super cheerfully violent.
I know,
he gleefully violent. I kind of like it. I'll be honest with you. Next week he just show up with blood all over him. No explanation. He just shows up. Oh, I blacked out last night. I woke up this.
Yeah, he's holding a still beating human heart.
I'm on some new meds.
I don't know whose heart this is,
I don't know who this belongs to. I have a liver in my bathtub, too. Jeez, man. What are you doing at night?
Yeah. After that, we had a really good match between Nia Jax and Rhea Ripley. As I mentioned,
speaking of bloody, holy crap.
Yeah. It really seems like Rhea's hitting her stride now on the main roster, at least from the in-ring perspective. So early on, Nia's using her strength advantage. She posts Rhea, and then hits her with a hip attack against the ring post, which looked like it could have really sucked.
Oh, my God, I know, yeah.
Getting your head slammed against the ring post.
Yeah.
So Rhea responds with a kick to the head. Then she uses her agility advantage to evade Nia, looks for a riptide. Nia escapes that, throws Rhea into the post again, goes for another hip attack. However, Rhea evades this one, hits Nia with a senton off the apron, or tries to. Nia moves, so Shayna eats the senton off the apron. And then Nia hits Rhea with a Samoa drop against the barricade. We go to commercial. We come back. Rhea's escaping a torture rack, starting a comeback. Eventually, though, Nia hits a leg drop that gets her a 2 count. She's looking for a Samoa drop. Rhea escapes that, tries for riptide. Shayna gets on the apron to distract Rhea, so Rhea goes after her. Shayna drops down. Nia charges. Rhea gets out of the way, and as Nia rebounds off the ropes, Rhea rolls her up to get the win, and afterwards, Nia, who's now bleeding all over the place.
Yeah.
Just bleeding all over the place.
Very effective visual.
Yeah, and Shayna are arguing in the ring, and eventually Shayna just leaves. Rhea comes back in, kicks Nia in the head, and hits her with Riptide.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like that stuff.
Yeah.
And it's teasing more Shayna versus Nia stuff, and then eventually we'll get Shayna versus Rhea again, which is great stuff.
Yep.
After that, we had T-Bar and Mace versus Ali, who got a great Chicago reception, being from the area, and of course Mansoor. This time, they didn't quite get the job done. They were on the same page for a little bit of this with some stereo suicide dives on opposite ends
Ali's
of the ring.
reaction to that was great.
Oh, I know. All the chemistry between these guys is really great. Ali planted T-Bar with a tornado DDT from the ropes. It was awesome. It was such a sick sell from T-Bar. He's just a terrific wrestler.
Yeah.
So Mansoor tries to get Ali up Sorry, he tries to help Ali up for like a top rope move after they lay out, I think, T-bar. But T-bar ends up kicking Mansoor into the rope, so Ali falls. Mansoor, T-bar then gets the upper hand on Mansoor because he drops him off the top rope. Mansoor eats a discus boot from T-bar for the win. After the match, Ali is tending to Mansoor, and Mace and T-bar get back in the ring. And he sort of knows, oh, man, this is going to suck because he knows that he's caught, basically. But he pushes Mansoor out of the ring and then eats and then basically, takes one for the team, eats that finish from Mace and T-Bar. So it's still good stuff. I mean, I kind of feel like I wonder if, this was this whole match was set up for that after the match thing where Ali now is getting Mansoor out of the way. Although I guess that was that the same as last week after the match? Ali pulled Mansoor out to get him out of the way of damage.
T-Bar and Mace were going to try to attack him after they lost,
Yeah, I just don't know about the whole, they're trying to get on the same page, and they clearly have good chemistry, but then they take the loss here. I kind of feel like they probably should have just had another
why they took
win.
the loss? Because they're in Chicago, and Mustafa Ali's from Chicago.
I know that is trope, so... Man. That is like one of my... God, I hate that shit. Way to kill a... What's the point of killing a crowd?
Well, because then whoever beats them has heat now, Steve.
With what? The crowd, they're going to not be there next week? What does it matter? That doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Afterwards, we had a Charlotte promo. It started off kind of confusing. She says a few days ago, she woke up to the headline Simone Biles withdraws from the Olympics, and she couldn't help but think to herself, why does the greatest gymnast of all time not want to go for gold anymore? And later she discovered it was for mental health. And the more she learned, she says, the more she empathized with Simone Biles. Charlotte says 2 weeks ago at Money in the Bank, she defeated Rhea for the women's title. Next night out on Raw, Nikki A.S.H. cashed in on her and illegitimately won. Stole her Raw Women's Championship. Charlotte says she's been in the business for a long time, and when she woke up the next morning, she was almost at her breaking point. She says she was going to almost have her own nervous breakdown. And you want to know why? You want to say it like Jesse Ventura, Steve?
You want to know why?
Because she's an 11-time women's champ, and that makes her the most decorated woman in the history of this business. She believes that cashing in Money in the Bank is the most cowardly way to win a title. It's not a competition. It's not competition. It's theft. And she has been cashed in on not one, not two, but 3 times. And as she's saying that, she's bringing weapons in the ring. There was a kendo stick, a broom, and a chair.
Yeah.
She says it's like cashing in on Charlotte is the only way to make a name for yourself by cashing in on her hard work. So last week she asked for a one-on-one match to show that she's better than Nikki. And when she won, Nikki then had the audacity to step up to her and ask for a rematch. She said, I put out my left hand to shake her hand and then punched her with my right. And she says, Nikki, she's not confident. She's gullible. And the only thing we love more than a champ is a martyr. And Nikki is both. And tonight she's going to sacrifice herself in a no-holds-barred match. And then Nikki sneaks in the ring, hits Charlotte in the back with the chair.
Good stuff. Afterwards, we had an interview with Eva Marie and Doudrop. Of course, Doudrop doesn't talk during this. Eva Marie runs down the Lily Lucian, puts over the Evolution, says she pulled Piper up from obscurity, and doesn't let her talk. Says Tamina's going to pay for stepping in front of the Evolution. So we got Doudrop versus Tamina, and this is a fun match. It's a pretty stiff match. In the end, Doudrop was about to hit her fun splash finish, but Eva started yelling at her to hit her finish, which caused some hesitation, and Tamina was able to evade and then gets a really impressive Samoan drop for 3 and the win there. After the match, Alexa shows up on the Tron and just sort of trolls them. Backstage, we got Priest and Riddle chatting it up. Priest is asking Riddle if he's scared of facing Omos tonight. Riddle says, nah, man, I've got the power of Randy in my corner. Got a bunch of voices in my head. Priest just really quickly interjects and says, yeah, I'm not surprised. And he's like,
well delivered.
It was, yeah. They've got good chem. I'm like, why aren't these guys a tag team instead of like Orton and Riddle? But and he asked Priest, he's like, why are you going on Miz TV? Wouldn't you be like in a hot tub with some champagne and some ladies instead of doing Miz TV? And he was like, yeah, I'm fine. I partied a lot at Lollapalooza, so I'm not concerned about all that.
Yeah.
And then we had Miz TV, and dude, I'll be honest with you, I fast forwarded through this until like the good stuff. Like I sort of long. I couldn't do it. I cannot still do Miz TV. I got to the part where Miz basically threatened to slap Priest. Priest gets in his face, says, "Go ahead and do it." Miz does nothing. Morrison gets up, says, "Are you thirsty, amigo? I can fix that." And he says, "Kids everywhere are growing up, hoping to be half as cool as Miz and Morrison." Priest says, "What are you talking about? Nobody wants to be Johnny's sidekick. Nobody wants to be Miz either." Priest eventually just gets pissed. He's like, "Man, I was just here to challenge Sheamus, but I'm kind of pissed at you guys now." He throws Morrison out after Miz tries to get him with the dripstick. So then he turns the table on Miz with the dripstick and the water bucket. Gets Miz all
pours
wet.
it all over his lap.
Yeah. So then we get.
There's one good line from John Morrison at the beginning of that where he tells Priest, "This is a splash hole free zone, so keep your mouth shut, or I might have to moisten you up."
Yeah, it's funny stuff. I love Morrison's hilarious with this, all the water puns. But it's like I can't do endless Miz TVs anymore. I'm sorry.
I know.
I apologize if you're a fan of our show and you like our recaps to listen to our Miz TV segments, but I can't do it.
It was way too long. Way too long. It was way too long. So yes, we got John Morrison versus Damian Priest. Next is a pretty quick match that saw Priest get the win on Morrison after catching a springboard move from him. Hits like basically a dominator. Follows that with his chokeslam for the win. Sheamus hits the ring afterwards to attack Priest. Ricochet runs out to make the save. We all know what we're going to get. We're going to get a tag match after the commercial break. And sure enough, that's what we got. Damian Priest and Ricochet versus Sheamus and John Morrison. This match, likewise, a bit on the short side. Once again, Damian Priest pins John Morrison, this time after hitting the Reckoning.
Yeah, it's kind of cool, though. Like, they're just making Priest into this, at least with this scene, into a kind of a monster. Kind of neat. Yeah. A couple good wins for Damian Priest, who doesn't talk in his deep voice anymore. So, yeah, good stuff for Priest. That moonsault from Ricochet was pretty awesome, too.
Yeah.
I don't know why in my notes it says Priest and Riddle, but it was Ricochet. After that, backstage.
You really want that tag team, don't you?
I really do, yeah. Backstage, MVP is still selling the effects of the spear while Lashley fumes after commercial. As Raw rolls on, we get Lashley interview where he says something like he hopes Goldberg brings his son to SummerSlam so he can watch me beat his dad or something.
Yeah, he basically accepts Bill's challenge for SummerSlam.
Yeah. After that, we had Omos versus Riddle. Riddle really tries hard at the start. You get a bunch of running strikes trying to get Omos off his vertical base. Omos eventually is able to counter, sending Riddle over the top rope, throws him over the barricade in the ring keeper area. Riddle barely breaks the 10 count. Then it happens again. Omos eventually hits his finish for 3, though.
Yeah.
Not much of a match.
It wasn't, but Riddle, he's such a good seller that even with Omos's kind of limited offense, Riddle did a hell of a job, selling how devastating it was, A
lot of guys make Omos look really, really good. I just don't know how far they can take it with Omos, but I mean, I like him. I think he always looks like he's having a good time in the ring. I just don't know how far that can go.
No, I get that. Totally. Then we get Alexa's Playground. Alexa says that Lily is thrilled with the Lily-lution. Says Lily's been influencing people for a long time. She brings up Jack the Ripper, the Zodiac. And then she gets laid out from behind by Doudrop. Eva walks in, picks up Lily, more or less says this doll's gross, declares that the evolution, that this is the evolution. And then Bliss is on the ground selling the attack. And so Lily's laying on like 6-8 feet away from her on her back. And then magically, Lily stands up on her own.
This was so stupid.
It really was.
This was so bad. It's just cringy. It's one of those things, another moment where it's like if somebody was watching this with me, like a family member, I would be embarrassed.
Yeah.
I hate this stuff so much, dude.
But at least it was short.
It was, but it's so bad.
It is. It's awful. It's terrible.
Yeah.
Really
we talked about this next match quite a bit already. Kross versus Keith Lee. Keith Lee got the win with the spear bomb. But like you said, it was a good match.
Yeah, it was. It was a good match. I enjoyed it.
After that, we had a Rhea Ripley interview. She puts over the no-holds-barred match coming up in the main event. Says she's definitely going to be watching. She says she hopes Nikki beats up Charlotte, but it's not going to matter because she's going to be walking out of SummerSlam as Raw Women's Champion. After that, we had 24/7 division action. Reggie versus Akira Tozawa.
Yeah, this was fun enough. It was, like a lot of stuff that Reggie does, where he uses his athleticism to evade his opponent's offense, then hits that crazy flipping seated senton move to get the win.
This one, man, this was a bit on the high side. He almost hit like a Tozawa because he lands hard with these flipping seated sentons. It looks great, but yeah, I don't know, man. I see what they do with Akira Tozawa, and I'm so over it. I'm like, let the dude just be a wrestler. What is this ninja crap? It's like
he's a really good wrestler. Tozawa's really good.
I know. It's so offensive, dude. It just really is. Anyways, after that, we had Nikki A.S.H interview. She claims she hasn't been in a match as brutal as a no-holds-barred match, but if I recall, she had a pretty brutal last man standing match against Oscar NXT,
which actually I think was at least just as, if not more brutal than the match last night.
Yeah. But she says she has confidence and all that stuff. Anyways, let's just get to the match because this is really, really good stuff.
It was solid stuff. It was really solid.
Charlotte puts Nikki through the barricade with an awesome spear. Charlotte tries to bring a chair into the ring. Nikki drop kicks the chair into her, DDTs her to the floor. Nikki tries a fun splash to Charlotte. Charlotte catches her and power bombs her through the announce table. Oh my God. That was absolutely brutal. Charlotte, literally, they did such a great job. Nikki did such a great job of being dead weight, but obviously helping Charlotte, get her into the ring as dead weight, which is tough to do. Sometimes it just looks like the wrestler is like just obviously on their feet.
Doing all the work. Yeah.
But they did a really great job of making Nikki look like dead weight here after the power bomb. So Charlotte drags Nikki into the ring, puts a foot on her and poses, and Nikki kicks out, and the look on Charlotte's face is just priceless. Charlotte then tries to spear Nikki through the table in the setup in the corner. Nikki gets out of the way. Charlotte goes through the table. Nikki covers, only gets 2. And then Nikki's able to hit like a draping, swinging neck breaker for 3 and gets the win there. Stellar match. It
was really good. And before Nikki hits her finish, she kind of takes a moment and gets really intense and then hits it.
Yeah. So
that was Raw. You want to answer a few questions? Yeah.
Let's answer a couple of questions here. I got a thread up on the Patreon. I'm sure we got plenty of questions in the live chat.
We do. Lubricant Hornet says, don't forget the upside down pyro during Riddle's entrance. I didn't notice that. He has upside down pyro.
There was upside down pyro? I'll have to take another look at that. Let's see here. Alex Foster, what other thrown together tag teams could you see getting over? Humberto Carrillo and Angel Garza. I want to see that tag team. It's weird they haven't done that.
That could be good. E-Dub says, who needs to turn from face to heel to face, and become a tweener to energize, save their careers after the draft? So who's a face that really needs a heel turn?
Do you think Riddle could ever effectively turn heel?
I mean, if like his
buy that,
his weird ramblings, he just rambles about stuff. If it takes like a darker turn, maybe. Maybe, but then people might think, oh, that's pretty silly. I don't know. His entire disposition is not really threatening.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
on his character. So I don't know. I'd be interested to see if we get main event Drew as a heel, though. I think that could be interesting.
Ooh, that could be terrifying.
I know what I'm talking about.
I mean, he's halfway. He's threatening to literally kill people. Jinder is so fun too. Jinder makes me laugh.
I want to see a interesting Jinder face turn.
Yeah, man, that could be cool. That could be
fun.
Cool. I could dig that.
Yeah,
they could do it, man. They have so many great pieces there that they just.
Night by night, your President Franklin Delano Roosevelt, as part of your New Deal, Congress has just passed this bill, more commonly known as the National Housing Act of 1934. What present-day Raw superstar would you remove from their timeline in order for them to come back and run the newly minted Federal Housing Administration? It's got to be a Raw superstar, so we can't say Seth Rollins since he's the architect.
Federal Housing Administration. A Raw superstar. I'm gonna
AJ Styles. Because SmackDown was a house that he built.
It's the house that he built. He built the house. That's good. I like it. Let's see here.
DZ Does It says, I have an administration question. Does watching the reviews here on Twitch and not on YouTube negatively affect your YouTube account? No.
Our
Watch
YouTube
whatever
account
is most convenient
fine
for you.
Yeah, we like the live engagement here.
Yes.
We like to keep, so if you want a little bit of business advice, try to establish multiple revenue streams. What we noticed when we were doing the reviews live on YouTube is that YouTube is the live element of YouTube. Besides, like, we do pay-per-view stuff there live, but like just for like normal week to week, day to day, it's not a great environment for live streaming. They're not there yet. You can't gift memberships. They don't find a way. I think I heard the phrase to gamify support. You know, like you get emotes, you get this, you get that, you get hype trains. They really have found a great way here on Twitch to make supporting your favorite artist fun. So no, we love Twitch. We love the live environment here. Ingest our content any way you want to ingest it.
Yes, whatever is most convenient for you. Yeah.
We are appreciative of all of it.
Yep.
Blake Whitehouse. Hold on a second. This is a good question. Would you rather watch a 4-hour Raw once a month or a 3-hour SmackDown every week? This is an easy one.
Yeah, it's 4-hour Raw.
Once a month.
I
mean, it's just
so
basically they would book big pay-per-view show to big pay-per-view show.
Yeah.
Because that's
unless the question is they're still weekly Raws, but one of them's 4 hours long, as opposed to regular 3-hour weekly SmackDowns. Man. If that's the case, then I guess it's gonna be a 3-hour SmackDown.
Dude, can we just like do movie reviews at that point? Can we just stop?
Yeah, probably.
Doing this?
We'll pivot to something else. We've had to do it before. White Brownie, if Nikki retains at SummerSlam, who should she feud with next besides Becky Lynch? If she wins at SummerSlam, she'll probably then feud with either maybe Rhea, assuming that, well, Nikki already beat Charlotte. Like, I don't know. Because really the finish to SummerSlam should have been Nikki pinning Charlotte. That should have been the finish of that match.
Yeah.
And granted, we're still almost 3 weeks away from SummerSlam, so, you know, things could happen in between now and then that can kind of change the math for things, but I don't know. I'd always assume that, okay, Nikki beats Charlotte coming out of SummerSlam, then we go to Nikki versus Rhea because Rhea can say, well, you didn't pin me, you know?
Yeah, I don't know. I like the uncertainty of it, but I can't imagine. I mean, I can't imagine Nikki losing at SummerSlam. Like, I don't know. I don't see it. I think that Vince wants to show that she is on par, and that's what happened last night. And now she's going to be on par with two superstars, Charlotte and Rhea, at the same time. And I think that she's going to win that match. I think you can have a Rhea versus Shayna feud, and not have to worry about the title. You can pivot to Rhea. You can pivot to Rhea versus any number of people without the title. I still think Nikki's probably, unless I mean, look, there's still 2 weeks left. I don't know how many is there, 3 Raws left or 2 Raws left? 2. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they do.
9th and the 16th, yeah.
Let's see here. Gregory Fiella, with how over Drew is, how many months until he gets a top championship again in front of crowds?
Well, he can't as long as Lashley's champion, so Bobby has to drop that belt first.
Bobby's going to get that. He's going to get the Goldberg grab probably.
Yep. Without a doubt.
And then after that, I don't know. Yeah.
Jorge D. Next week, Jinder finds Shanky with clear sword wounds and catering. Jinder automatically assumes that Drew did it. Drew denies it and claims that Angela, his claymore, was stolen. This remains an unsolved mystery for the night. What would your resolution be to this scenario, and how would you solve it? Will the perp be caught within minutes?
Within minutes. Let's see here.
What would be your resolution?
So here's the thing. Number one, nobody can commit crimes anymore, man. Everybody's caught. Everybody has their cameras everywhere. It's insane. You can't do crimes anymore, people. You try it, you're going to get caught.
Well, you can still do crimes, but not that you should. You shouldn't do crimes, but
You should definitely
still
not do it.
can do them. Just the chance of you getting caught are much greater than they used to be.
Infinitely greater. Man, I
But
watched
don't do crimes.
there was I forget what it was. One of the I watched Dateline all the time.
Yeah.
And one of these damn people like murdered somebody, right? And like every goddamn step of their day was caught on cameras. You leave your house, guess what? Every neighbor of yours, every other neighbor has one of them Nest or Ring cameras, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like it's second you leave your house,
Yep.
you are on camera. You drive by a gas station. You don't even have to go to a gas station. You drive by a gas station, guess what? They're probably going to see you.
A lot of traffic lights have cameras in them too.
Traffic lights have cameras.
Yep.
You are everywhere, man. You can't get away with anything. You can't do it. So stop committing all those crimes, people. Stop murdering people.
Cosmic Night Fury says, not a question, but I had my pro wrestling school tryout. I was instructed to do 150 squats, 100 sit-ups, and 100 push-ups in 20 minutes. Wow. Finished the squats pretty quickly. Just barely finished the sit-ups in time, but my upper body wasn't in good enough shape to complete the push-ups in time. I kept trying to finish even after the time limit expired. My tryout officially ended when I puked 5 times in the span of 2 minutes. I passed the tryout for showing heart and toughness. Yay. Happy to hear that you got into pro wrestling school. That's good news.
That's great. That's great. Dog Authority figure says, if the Miz using the drip stick does not warrant a DQ, what nearly DQ tactics would you employ to help the other win a match?
Yeah, I saw that. The ref was like basically staring right at him. That should have totally been a DQ.
Let's see. I'm looking at my WWE rule book here.
Oh, so frustrating.
Let's see here.
While you look at that,
does this
EV has gifted a bunch of subs. We'll get to those in a wee bit. Thank you, EV.
It says right here, rules were made to be broken. It's like a big double page spread here too.
That's like that's the takeaway from the WWE rulebook.
You got to get to know your refs is what you got to do. You got to know your refs who will allow what.
I guess so. Dang MQ, which woman in WWE should have the ability to stack and pin her opponents? Like I think that's something like if Bianca were a heel, Bianca could do that. I
mean, clearly it's Charlotte right now. I'm surprised she hasn't done that yet.
Man,
They should feed a couple jobbers to her.
So often, and especially in the early parts of the match, when Nikki was doling out, what little offense she got in, Charlotte was no selling it. Just completely no selling it.
Yeah.
Getting right back up, no selling it.
Kind of great. Eddie Brock's Venom. In 20 years, do you think we can get a Shield 2.0? Roman had his kid last year, same as Seth, and this year with Dean. I don't know, man. I don't know. Those guys have special chemistry. I'm not sure their sons will all have that same chemistry.
Yeah.
But I guess you never know.
Never know. Let's get one more in.
Let's get one more in. Let's see here. Wayne Scoggins says, why didn't they have Joe go out there and choke that chump out? I assume he means
Kross. I would think you mean
Kross?
Kross. Yeah.
It'd be cool if he just came out and choked Goldberg for no reason. It's like that time Malachi Black showed up in WWE and kicked Big E and just left.
and then never saw him again.
That you never saw him again. Oh, God, that's funny. Anyways, that's going to do it for us. We're going to answer some more of these questions here on the Twitch. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. We appreciate it. Until next time, we'll talk to you later.
Goodbye.